Through the Mayhem, the Silently podcast series, bringing marketing industry leaders together to discuss the ever-shifting media landscape. Learn about the ins and outs of real-time marketing, influencers, data privacy, technology, and so much more. All from industry experts with real experience, giving you the real answers. Now, let's break through the mayhem.
Welcome back to Breaking Through the Mayhem, hosted by Silently. Super excited today to have my friend and a legend, Tammy Henault. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be here.
So let's jump right into it, knowing that we want to make sure that we get to a lot of different great topics about you. So let's start with your path. You've worked across iconic entertainment brands, the NBA, Paramount, the New York Times. What's been the through line in your career, and what's the advice that you would give others who want to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah. The through line of my career has been, really working in media, entertainment, and sports. Um, at the intersection of moments where they were going through transformative change, whether that's, an audience shift in the magazine space from print to digital. At New York Times, it was at the dawn of the paywall. I joined CBS when they were trying to figure out, how to build a direct-to-consumer streaming service, built CBS All Access and launched that to Paramount Plus. And all of those steps, it was stepping into roles that, were marketing products or experiences that didn't necessarily exist yet or were going to be new to the organizations that I was at. And I think a big part of that is also what helped me, land at the NBA, right? Was being able to navigate through times and periods of change. When I stepped into the NBA, it was about launching a new tentpole, the NBA Cup, changing to new media distribution partners, growing internationally. And at each step of the way was just about trying something new and different and not being afraid of change. Yeah.
This week is the NBA Cup. I'm hoping the Knicks take it down. At the NBA, you were marketing a global brand, like a live product, which is really a cultural juggernaut all at once. It's a lot, right? So what were your biggest takeaways from your time at the league?
I always describe joining the NBA and stepping into the role as, a treadmill already going at like level 10 and you're just trying to get on and keep up with the pace. It's global, it's live, it's content pretty much daily, and deeply cultural. And you're trying to make sure you're navigating and keeping the whole machine going all at the same time. So for me, I have a few takeaways, but the first is that fandom um, is a living, breathing thing. We always said that we're in conversation with the fans. We're you know we're constantly alongside them, not marketing to them, right? We're being a fan ourselves, and we're joining them in that conversation. So I think that is something that I'll continue to take with me into other roles. Um, this was probably one of the most global roles I've had, and I think global looks really different. I think it's easy to bucket global into one big thing. But of course, in every area and every region, how do you ensure brand consistency, but also create space for the local culture to thrive? And we spent a lot of time trying to perfect that and making sure that our campaigns and our messaging was really tailored, but also had the strong brand presence shining through. And then last is really around the power of access. The NBA, we spend a lot of time thinking about the membership ecosystems, our products, our platforms, and how do we get our fans as close to the content as possible? We would always say, right, the data shows that less than 1% of our fans will ever get to watch a live game. And so it was always about how do you bring them to the front door of our digital experiences, when we do have live and market experiences. And that access is so crucial to building that fandom. And so, yeah, Those are probably some of the key ones.
And that dovetails really well into something else I was really curious about. So obviously you've been, New York Times, Paramount, NBA, as we've said, right? Names that people know. And clearly at those places you've been scaling D2C platforms into these multi-billion dollar revenue streams. What would you say is like, you know, to help our listeners to understand the secret to successfully doing that? And then how do you think about retaining audiences in subscription businesses? Because I know that's a challenge.
Hmm. Yeah, I spent 15 years in sort of various subscription worlds and subscription business models. And then before pretty much everything became subscription, right? You can subscribe to Uber and food package boxes and I don't know, travel, etc. Um, and the thing that I found consistent across all the different businesses and companies is like to power a subscription business, it's really important to have data, technology, and infrastructure right first and foremost. Everybody goes to customer acquisition and ultimately, right then from the engagement, retention, and churn metrics. But I think at the core, you really need to understand how you're building that customer life cycle from beginning to end and ensure like the infrastructure is set up to enable really smart, customer journey building and marketing across the whole life cycle. So I think that's something that often either gets overlooked or is trying to get built at the same time. And, I found organizations that are most successful who have that commitment to invest in the infrastructure and the organizational design in addition to the marketing itself.
That's awesome. You know, I, that's really good advice. I mean, hearing a marketer say that is so crucial because that means you're working alongside the business in such a fair way.
Mhm.
Thinking about that, like obviously, the big elephant in every conversation is centered around AI, right? And the automation of marketing. Somebody that's been through, the evolutions, I'm sure this is just another one of those for you, right? So what's exciting you and what are you most cautious about in the next phase?
Yes. Every conversation converges back to AI. And I think it's important because it's everywhere, right? At the core, I think AI is going to do incredible things. It unlocks speed, scale, it unlocks impact to, exponential degrees than what people can do without using the various tools. Um, I'm excited. I think AI takes a lot of friction out of marketing, right? There's a lot of really interesting conversations around synthetic research and synthetic audiences for testing and personalization. You can get to answers more quickly. Um, and then creatively, it opens up new ways to tell stories, new ways to create content, the speed with which you can create things that are more relevant to people. All of that is good. I think that there's a risk of like over creating. I know at the NBA we started
A lack of authenticity.
yeah, like just creating more for the sake of being able to create more. We created campaigns and set up a bunch of synthetic audiences to test different messages and tailor and personalize messaging. And at the end of the day, we created too many, right? On the whole, there were some cohorts of those messages that underperformed what the kind of more general fan message would be. And so I think there is a risk of trying to over tailor and over automate everything. Um, but at the core, everyone's trying to figure out how to culturally, right, build an organization that's going to adopt AI and be fluent while looking at organizational design. And I think there's just a lot of really big changes ahead, but I am optimistic overall. I just think we have to really be good at balancing the human touch against, um, the autonomous work as well.
Makes a lot of sense. And I've always been impressed with you obviously holding these big roles and then also being on boards like at the ad council and the MMA. What are the topics or shifts that are coming up most in those rooms? I mean, there's the obvious ones that we're discussing. What
Mm.
are some of the things that people don't realize everyone's discussing today?
Yeah. There's a lot of, I mean, we've talked about this too. There's a lot of conversation around trust in general, right? Trust in media, trust in platforms, trust in marketing, consumer trust, um, data, how to ensure that we're protecting people's privacy. How do you ensure people know if something's not human in largely algorithmic world? I think um, those are big topics that the industry is grappling right now. How do we ensure that we're going to capture kind of the value out of tools and technology while remaining responsible as a whole? And I think the conversation is good. I don't know if everyone has the answer, but the question's being asked.
It always starts with admitting you need to know something or do something, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are gonna get there, especially with people like you in the room. And also you've worked across agencies, you've been at platforms, league side, etc. How do you typically lead teams? And for you, what stays consistent no matter where you go?
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, I've definitely led large teams across a number of different types of organizations that all had really different cultures. And I think I try to keep my own leadership philosophy pretty consistent wherever I go, which is, ensure there's clarity in direction and goals. Ensure that, you know, we're treating each other with empathy and thinking about the business in a way that is responsible and having conviction and trying new things and you know testing and innovating, right, and not being afraid to fail. um I don't know, I think teams work the best when you have the space to let the best ideas flow to the top, and, celebrating the wins as well as celebrating the failures. I definitely had, um, the monthly marketing all-star award, on my last team, and,
Mm.
I proposed, like, the opposite of the all-star award, sort of like the nice try award or something to be able to celebrate the failures as well. That didn't get a lot of traction. People weren't as excited about that, but I think people should be. Maybe I needed to rebrand that award to something different, but, yeah, I think, like, for me, the best teams that I've been a part of and the teams that I've been trying, to foster wherever I go is the teams where people see the people to your left and your right, those sitting around a table from you, that you're all working towards the same success, right? Like everyone else's success is your success, and teams that I think come around and see and help each other up and try to do something that's not going to only benefit sort of your line of work or your silo, but the whole organization, are the ones that you know overperform.
Couldn't agree with you more. I
Mhm.
mean, you think like a real sports team leader coming from league side. And think of that, like, you've always feel like you've been ahead of where everyone's going, right? Obviously, as you close this incredible last chapter in your career, what spaces or stories are you kinda most drawn to next?
Yeah, been getting asked this question a lot. Um,
Honestly, how
and
could
the
we not?
answer is I'm excited by a lot of things. I'm I'm excited about spaces where tech and creativity and community collide, right? I'm really energized by stuff that's happening in consumer tech, especially the AI space. I think the opportunity to retell, stories in different ways and build fandom and create personalized experiences at scale is going to, you know, accelerate faster than we've ever seen before. And so that makes me bullish also on experiential, right? Experiential, I think people still want to have live moments and immersive experiences. And so I know I love the idea of something that, is going to be at the forefront of using technology to build experiential moments, whether that's in entertainment, in a sports adjacent space. I think
Set
there's
us from there.
really interesting stuff happening in health and wellness right now, like new technology, new devices, new rituals, new medications that are helping people manage their lives. So I think that's an area that I find interesting. I don't know. I love fashion, music, travel. I love brands that understand culture, want to take big swings to do big marketing. There's a lot. I feel like the world is really an exciting place right now. So
You'll
loop
one
back
thing
and ask me again, and we'll see if it changes or not.
one thing I know about you is you'll find your way.
Mhm.
Um, you're a scrappy person who will always find their way. Getting to know you has been amazing. And one of the questions I love to ask my guests, typically in closing, is what would you, if you had a chance to go to dinner with somebody who is not alive or is alive, let's go with alive, and is not in your family, who would it be?
Mm.
It gives me a little glimpse into your thought process.
Yeah. So I was just working on Christmas cards, I'm sure, right, at that time of the year, and the biggest thing that is wrapped around my family this year has got to be K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, it's nonstop. The top of my wrapped, lit, like, golden, my kids, Halloween, all the costumes. So, I would have to go to dinner with Huntrix, the ladies of Huntrix, and, bring your girls around and, be the best mom of the year.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw them just absolutely rock it at the Thanksgiving Day parade. My daughter was singing the whole entire song. Well, listen, thank you so much, Tammy, for being on Breaking Through the Mayhem today. I think our audience is blessed to hear your opinions, your thoughts, and they're gonna learn a lot from today. So thank you for joining me.
Thanks for asking such thoughtful questions and having me. Appreciate it.
Have the best day.
You too. Bye.
Hey, I'm Chris, one of the producers for Sightly's Breaking Through the Mayhem podcast. We want to thank you so much for subscribing to the show. If you'd like to learn more about the guests we had on today, we included additional information about them in the show notes. Finally, if you'd like to be on the podcast, or if you know someone who'd make a great fit, you can fill out the form at sightly.com/podcast. Catch you on the next episode.